Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 156, which is called Let's End This. And yeah, overall a really good chapter to return. Obviously we were on break last week, so it was actually the first break in a while. So it was obviously important that we return with a big chapter, and we absolutely did. We ended on the big cliffhanger that the Queen is back up and running, but we don't know the details about how or why this is the case. And this, I think, definitely delivered on, okay, where are things going from here? And I think ultimately they chose the correct choices with regards to where the characters are right now. And that was, by the end of the chapter, to bring Sanju into things. He was the only one really capable enough to fight the Queen at this point. We had Zazie there, but obviously this chapter deals with Zazie for the most part and confirms that, okay, only way to handle a royal is to bring in another royal. And so the big reveal from this chapter is finally confirming to us what a lot of us have suspected for a very long time, that Sanju is related somewhere. We didn't know the exact details on it to the royal family. Now we know for sure. Beyond that, there's just a few interesting references about, like, oh, they're still teasing what this form that the Queen has taken on exactly is, and how she can be killed with regards to where's her new core, her new weak spot, and how do we actually deal with that going forward. But let's get into the chapter and go through it sort of page by page here. So the first 2 or 3 pages is basically just a recap. It's just, here's what we're dealing with here. The Queen is back, she doesn't have a face, and that's where we ended off. So the immediate reaction then is Norman saying it doesn't have a face, and Emma remembers that this is like the thing back at the temple, the Kuvitidala stuff, the faceless being and so on. Ray is like, the Queen was resurrected, similar to an insect's metamorphosis. That is the Queen, right? So they're not entirely sure still what exactly the case is, that like, is it the Queen or is it just some, process that's happening here? But we get the Queen sort of speaking here. How wonderful you're all here, standing right in front of me. The 3 very best premium products from Gracefields Plant 3. This is fantastic. It's just as they said, all of you are alive. I'd almost given up, but you attacked my capital and attacked my retainers, not to mention defying me. You cattle children from Lambda and Gracefield escapees will all be returned to me. I'm going to eat every single one of you. So this is interesting in that I think it was good for the Queen to mention this, in that this is ultimately sort of her goal in terms of she wants to eat the most valuable kind of food that's out there, and that is ultimately the food that would be for the One, which she technically wouldn't usually be allowed to eat. They would usually have to give this up to the One at the Tefari, which is still ongoing. We're still waiting to see if they kind of refer back to like what exactly the details surrounding the Tefari are. But either way, we now see that this is sort of almost her trying to like defy that rule from the current promise that is still in place, because Emma has purposefully delayed the activation of the new promise. So I'm wondering, will they actually commit to that? Will she get her hands on Emma, Ray, or Norman and try to go and eat them? But the second she tries to, that's when like, oh, you've broken the promise comes into play, and then will that be like a turning point? We'll have to wait and see on it. But I like her referencing that she acknowledges that these are the 3 best like that have ever been produced in a way, and I never thought I'd get one of them, let alone all 3, to see them all alive right in front of me. It's from her point of view, it's like, wow, destiny has brought the 3 of them right before me. But either way, by the end of her speech, she just suddenly has Zazie. Like, it's like unclear like when she's particularly like moved to grab Zazie, but she just suddenly moves and has him in her clutches. It seems like Zazie's gonna get eaten here almost immediately. He does manage to react and seemingly just cuts her in half again, but she immediately starts to just like seal back up again, and she just is reformed almost instantaneously, and just karate chop straight to the neck, sends him flying into a wall. I think the panel where he gets hit definitely gets across the idea that this is a pretty devastating blow. I don't think Zaze's dead, but you know, especially given that they haven't specifically revealed the full details about like what experimentation has been done on Zaze, how strong he is, or anything like that. He probably could manage to heal from this, depending on what powers they sort of reveal he specifically has. But realistically, the idea of this one is to get across the idea that here's the guy who like defeated the queen in her initial form, and the queen has just basically taken him out like that in her kind of revival form here. So it's just the kind of power scaling here now that we're into like a big kind of fight section of the manga. So Norman runs over to Zaze, and we see that Zaze's kind of unconscious, but I don't think they're acting like he's dead, like I said. This is when we obviously cut back to the fact that Ray and Emma have their guns out and are basically like, preparing to shoot. But she questions them, will you shoot 63194? And then she turns to Ray and says 8194, questioning, are you going to do it or are you? Almost acting like, I'll attack back if you attack me, basically is her point. And Norman is thinking about this. In one shot, Zaze was, even though Jiren exhausted her that much, she's completely recovered. Even after we chopped through her head, she's still keeping her composure. No, the problem is what was inside of her head. There wasn't a brain or anything else for that matter. No face, no eyes, no core. In that case, what can we possibly hope to... And then Ray is kind of thinking here, no, Emma and I have been watching that demon trying to understand what it is. We still can't confirm if it really doesn't have any eyes or cores. Calm down, don't hesitate. The core could be hidden and constantly moving, or maybe her core is in a different position than other demons. Shooting her with guns probably won't work, but there has to be some clue, there has to be, basically. So they're just trying to figure out that, like, okay, it's not in her head like every other demon, but there has to be something kind of as like a core to her kind of being in a way. There's no way she just like exists as this kind of thing that is able to just transform its form. There has to be a core to it somewhere. So the speculation is that it moves or is just in a different position. So I assume that will be the key in this upcoming fight, to basically finding out where is the weak spot so that we can take her down. But this is when the queen sort of reveals this new power. It's like she kind of just increases her like aura or presence and sort of terrifies everyone. They're like, what is this? I'm scared. I can't move. And she just appears right before them. And it's like, good girl. But this is when suddenly out of nowhere the queen is impaled with lots of spears. And we look up and it's revealed that Sanju and Mujika have entered the battle here. And they reveal that somewhere in the middle of all of this, Emma had actually pressed the switch that she was given previously to call them into the action. So that's a nice callback. I was half expecting they'd do it like the other way, where we'd see Emma press the button and then we'd be waiting for him to arrive. But instead they just arrive and then retroactively reveal she had already pressed the button. But anyway... there's just a meeting up again, confirming that the castle, the situation outside of the castle is fine. Everyone else should be able to handle the rest. Basically, just getting across the idea: drink the blood, and everyone will be healed on the outside. You have to drink Mujika's blood. And they also say that we told Don and Gilda about a secret pathway. They'll be leaving the capital soon. She thanks them. We get Norman's reaction to seeing Mujika effectively for like the first time, and he's very shocked that she's just here. This person that he's been looking for so long is just right there. And then they obviously switch their attention back to the queen, who is kind of recovering once again. And then we cut to, obviously, Sanju is the sort of center of attention now that he's here. And he notes, that form. So you finally turned into a monster both inside and out. And I think it's... Yes, I think it's Sanju who just continues to speak, and Mujika pipes in as well and says, Emma Ray, it won't work. Negotiating peace with her is impossible. This is when Mujika says, the region houses are all dead. If we wanted to try settling this with talking, we would have needed Duke of Urk or Lord Pupo. We didn't make it in time. So, yeah, we're just building up to the end of the chapter here with just, the queen says, I didn't think I would see you, Sanju, so you're aiding the humans. I wonder what the circumstances are this time. And immediately you read that and think, this time? the circumstances this time, so he's done it before in the past. And it makes sense in a way that, like, he probably would have, even in the past, wanted to help humans when it came to, like, I suppose, making the first promise or whatever. That would be an interesting one to kind of come back to. It's obviously linking into the fact that we actually don't know the full backstory on Mujika or Sanju, and especially with the reveal we'll get to at the end of the chapter, there are a lot of stuff that they just need to kind of connect the dots on before we kind of know exactly what's going on. But she just says, well, whatever, in a single day I get to settle dealing with the cursed blood and recapturing the escapees. What a lucky day. And Sanju just says, yeah, it is. We've come to settle things with you too. Let's end this. And Mujika is noting in her head, for 700 years all we've done is run away. And we have some kind of flashback to kind of her, I suppose, having to deal with the events from the past that I'm sure will get explained a bit better as we go on. And Sanju steps up to fight. I'm going to kill you right here and now, Queen. And she just says, kill you? Kill me? And she just says, you really are foolish, my little brother. Big reveal here. Sanju is part of the royal family. He is the younger brother of the Queen. And given that, like, we sort of know that, like, Luvis and stuff like that is also sort of related in here and so on, it's a big reveal. I don't think inherently Sanju's part of the royal family was a big reveal. I think everyone expected it. I'll explain in a minute why we all expected it. But it was really about just confirming, like, what is the full kind of connection here. I'm not sure how many people predicted directly that Sanju would be the brother of the Queen. But this makes it a very, very impactful, because the Queen, her little bit of backstory that we got kind of confirmed that she had, like, eaten their father and the siblings, and she wasn't specific on that and so on, and it asked questions like, wait, where does where does these other characters sort of fit in there? Where does Luvis fit in? And so on. Now it kind of confirms to us that, like, okay, they're probably going to need to cover more on that, exactly the timing on when she took over and how the others felt about that, and why, like, Sanju wasn't there, why Luvis wasn't included in this, and so on. But yeah, it's a nice reveal. It's one of those ones where, like, we were waiting for this. Ending it on this is a perfectly fine note that now it's going to be a battle of the two royals here to see how this fight actually goes. And obviously, the speculation obviously is going to have to be that Sanju is going to be somewhat of a challenge for the Queen, even in this form. And he's probably going to be able to damage her enough to maybe reveal to everyone else watching where her weak point is, and then it will be all about finding a way for everyone who's still in play to actually get through and defeat the Queen. Again, this is where they're probably going to have to reveal, like, what is the big thing with the royal family? Why are they so different? Why are they so much more powerful than everyone else? What is the backstory with regards to the 700 years ago and Sanju and Mujika, and, you know, how does Luvis fit into this as well? Because at this point, this reveal sort of brings everything together in that likely Sanju won't be enough given this new form that the Queen is in. So we will need someone else to jump in here, and likely that will have to be Luvis. And the reason that everyone talks about Luvis is you go back to volume 11 of the manga, specifically chapter 94, effectively the death scene of Luvis for the first time. You see on this page here, he gets hit, you see him get hit in the weak point, and then you have this page of all these sort of fractured memories of Luvis. And a lot of them are quite interesting here, as you see like Bayon in the past, you see Sanju protecting Mujika, you see Mujika again, and then the one that everyone notes, like I think you have one of the Ratri clan here as well, plus most notably probably is that one right there. The thing in the jar that I don't think has been mentioned, like, at all in the series up to now. Like, what exactly is going on there? And then you add to that the fact that, like, his body, like, they turned around and his body was gone and so on. That was like a pretty big thing when it came back to it. So yeah, pretty cool overall. And so on. With regards to, like, how you can start to kind of connect some of the dots here. I'm going to assume that this reveal has come out. They're probably going to have some sort of a flashback arc here. Given the way that they've been going about it of late, it probably will be a fairly quick one, like maybe 1 or 2 chapters, just because this hasn't been a manga that has tended to go into like a really long, lengthy, you know, 4, 5, 6 chapter long kind of flashback sequence. So unless they're really deciding this is the point to tell the full backstory of everything, which I think they might leave until the one comes in and the promise is fully being talked about, I think it will just be, this is the information that we need directly. Here is why Mujika is different. Here is why her blood is kind of cursed or different in some way. This is why she's special. That's probably the biggest question, in a way, kind of in the series at this point. It's just like, yeah, why is she so different? Like, is Mujika related to the royal family, or is she like a separate clan that like is just as powerful as the royals but in a different way? You know, stuff like that. Why did Sanju support Mujika and has apparently supported humans in the past in addition to now? A lot of those questions, and then of course I think we are waiting for Luvis to return at some point, because even though we thought he was killed back then, he must have the same power here and have that sort of reset kind of power in a way. He could return at some point if we absolutely needed him to. Beyond that, I don't really how much there is to really talk about now. That's not just, you know, getting lost in the speculation when we don't quite have the information just yet. I think with some of the speculation, they're definitely leaning towards the idea that there is some sort of a core left in the Queen somewhere. It's just going to be about finding it and the specifics about it. Just the fact that like Sanju says like, oh, he knows what that form is, and he calls it like a monstrous form, that you've become monstrous inside and out. He gets across the idea that she's sort of is maybe taking on aspects of like the beast demons, but while still maintaining her intelligence, and that's, you know, that's why she's so powerful at this point. But yeah, there's obviously still a lot that we have to kind of go on, and a lot of people also have pointed out that, oh, she brought up, you know, Plant 3, Gracefield House, but like Isabella hasn't been mentioned. We still are wondering like what's going on with Phil and stuff like that, because like as I said, the Tafari still hasn't been like come back to at all. But like I said, I think we're still waiting for the point at which they'll bring the one in, and like we'll learn the full scope of what's going on here. I suppose like the other thing is like we're still waiting to see what the whole Rattray clan thing is, like to see that come full circle. Like when will he make his appearance to reveal some stuff and so on. So it's one of those ones where like you can look at this in one way and think that like, yeah, well, there's only a couple of chapters left, but if they really go for it, like there probably still is the option to have like close to 30-40 chapters left in the series if they really want to. Yeah, that's been my review. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter, but other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.